If you've ever lost yourself, or even a brief moment in a really beautiful piece of aesthetic packaging, then this is the video for you. I'm an archivist, some might call me a hoarder, but I get brought in by luxury brands in particular, and brands who want something special when it comes to their content, their design, their packaging, whatever it is. So I collect all these things that I think stand out, whether that's references on the internet or in real life. And today I'm going to walk through a ton of them. All of my favorite pieces of packaging that I have physically, and talk about what makes them special, interesting, unique, and work. And throughout that, we're going to learn a lot about marketing, about standing out on retail shelves, about the consumer experience and what the little things can do, as well as brand positioning and some of the logistics it takes to create this. I have most of these in a Notion database online, so you can actually go investigate the brands. And even if you're not as interested in the branding and marketing part of it, it's going to be a real exploration of lots of beautiful standout packaging and what makes it tick. So I'm going to start with two of my favorites. There's Orca water and the Clase Azul mezcal. So Orca is an interesting one because they take a familiar idea, the idea of any tin can, and they apply that nostalgic, transparent fact. There's a photo that was going around on Tumblr forever that had a regular sized soda can like this, with this same look and feel, just clear with the top. It would go viral on Tumblr all the time, which I assume inspired this design. But the whole idea is when you look at it on the shelf, it's something completely different, something unexpected. And in addition, they've paired it with an unexpected product. 150 milligrams of caffeine inside water. There's no calories, water and caffeine as God intended. A new brand, we'll see how they do, but a standout form factor that had people excited to buy it before they even launched. That when they go to retail, they're able to show people, hey, look at the attention online we're getting just by virtue of the form factor of our packaging. That's an important part of the conversation to have. Because something unique you'll notice about everything that I have here is almost all of it that's sold at retail is meant to stand out on the shelf. And it's part of 2 to 3 key concepts I'm going to walk through here today. The first is shelf appeal. The second is shareability. The third is luxury experience. And the fourth is consumer experience. Before we dive too deep into shelf, let's talk about luxury. Clase Azul is a controversial alcohol. You've seen their white and blue bottles, equally as gorgeous. And from tequila purists, there's a lot of conversation about the quality of what's inside, as there will be when any brand blows up and charges a premium. But for every detractor, there's someone who enjoys it and spends money on it and has increased in popularity exponentially. When I saw this mezcal bottle was when I was really interested, because they put all of these bottles are handmade ceramic by one specific area in Mexico. This is a hand-knit yarn top, something like, I forget if it was hours or days, goes into every single one of these, getting constructed. Heavy ceramic, you can see the yarn coming out. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a statement piece. And what you'll notice about this that keeps it stand out is if you go into any apartment of men of a certain age who partake in the nightlife, you'll see several of the white and blue bottles that are on the shelf. But when I got this bottle, this is one that lived on the shelf. It's in all my videos because it is essentially an art piece. And when you're investing into something that is a multi-$100 bottle of liquor, the idea that you could keep the bottle and turn it into a vase or have it live on the shelf and have it look good enough and potentially be classy enough that you could do that in an adult household versus the white and blue bottles in a party house is an interesting concept that drives longevity and luxury value for a new brand. One of the concepts I've always been obsessed with is the speed of luxury, because I feel luxury takes time to really cement. And there's brands that have skipped that can charge a premium that feel luxury almost immediately. And the bottle is a huge part of that success for Clase Azul. Perhaps my favorite example of this is Ace of Spades. So for those of you who didn't live through the millennial nightlife Cobra Snake era, Jay-Z felt dissed by Perrier Joulet. I don't know the deep dive story, but basically invested in or partnered with this company to promote a more lifestyle-friendly version of a premium champagne. So in New York, I worked as a graphic designer at a bar that had a wall of these all up and down it. So when you walked in, you immediately were kind of shocked by the value of it. It was an expensive bar, gold flakes in the drinks, $30 drinks. Back when that was uncommon, now that's pretty common. This was very new, very small location, a lot of celebrity driven. Justin Bieber was there, T-Pain was there. I met more celebrities there than I've met in my life. You'd be working there one night and you'd be next to Kesha and country stars, whatever it would be. They'd come there because it was private, there was no photographers, it was small, and it had this premium vibe, and it was cemented by Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades wall. And this is one of the dummy bottles from the wall. There's not real champagne in it that I've basically kept as a souvenir once that bar got sold and moved on. But they basically engineered, through the look of this and celebrity endorsement, a speed to market of a brand no one had ever heard about. I may have existed forever prior, I'm not 100% sure, did not research this prior, but was immediately cemented as a luxury staple and a part of the lifestyle from the look, the feel, and the perception. Because a big part of packaging the luxury experience is justifying the price point. Like the Cartier box, for example. You spent X amount of money on a watch and you pull it out of something cheap, you'll probably still feel great about the watch purchase, but opening it inside this kind of luxurious clasp, the gorgeous inside and the pillow and whatnot, just makes you feel like you're engaging in a luxury experience. And adding that extra $20, $8, whatever it costs them to produce that box at scale onto that purchase really adds to that perception, to that storage, to the feeling that, hey, I made the right choice from the moment that you open up that package. And so for anyone that has a premium price point, it's really worth thinking through what that experience looks like. To the point on reusability, one of the things I like most about the Classe Azul is you'll see it in homes, you will see people keep it beyond its usage. Because the underlying conversation that's hard about all of this is the sustainability element. We still create so many things that simply get thrown away. But any brand that puts the intention and the cost into something that might get kept is circumventing that in at least some nature. So another approach beyond the pure luxury approach is the objects as art. Let's take a look at this Skelly tequila. So this is one where, unknown about the quality of the tequila, this is another one that has stayed in the house. That is a sculptural element that is moving beyond a brand perception. The Classe Azul on the shelf is also a statement about a lifestyle. This is more about a statement about an art, something that jumps off a liquor cabinet shelf, a conversation piece. An adaptation of the original kind of Crystal Skull vodka that many people may have seen for years. It was a first rendition of this. This is now a sculptural small edition of this. Where for anyone who does make a product in low volume or low batch, adding that artistic element to it that again might get saved, that makes it a conversation piece, adds to the interest and perception of the brand. And that can be applied in other simpler ways too. So these are host cocktails. Love this bottle and the label application of it. Premium, these labels are super nice. Look at the metallic in here. I love that style of the 3 on. And they come in these art edition boxes. Another brand that does this in an interesting way is Margin Global. They're a cosmetics brand. They'll have a really interesting piece of art direction on each of their different packaging, and they'll change it. This becomes a vehicle for collaborations, for interest, for change, and immediately associates the brand for people that want to have that kind of creative support. It's a tactic on the shelf. I like to break down packaging. I break it into a couple different styles. One is like straightforward, if people just want to get what's out there. The other is extreme. This brand Korova that I worked with for a long time is a good example of that. Liquid Death, another good example of that. How do you position against everything on the shelf by the extreme angle? It's got like hipster, new wave angles, minimal, obviously like overly feminine or overly masculine. And then there's always what I call the art angle. And there's this whole really interesting look from Madre that was pioneered by the design firm that did this is a firm called Land, who did a lot of brands. They did Old Pal, if you're familiar with them, Stumptown Coffee. All their things look vaguely alike because of the style that they have. They're very prolific. They're like an Austin design firm who basically pioneered this look and feel we now see, obviously not just them do, but all kinds of different brands do. This very traditional, kind of 2-color, old school line drawing that really feels familiar and interesting, and speaks to like a whole segment of the population that is intrigued by it, both from a nostalgic perspective. It has like that 70s feel that works with older people, down to kind of like a younger hipster feel at the same time. It's probably a whole other topic for a video, but that firm, the idea that we're going to specialize in a visual style, we're going to apply that to all these different categories. I believe they had some of their own projects in these categories as well. And that we're going to take our visual style as a firm and turn it into a trend, or turn it into something that's going to stay. It gives us power, it gives us facilitation as someone who visually sets part of the zeitgeist. Is something I think that true kind of design visionaries and firms could really be thinking about if they're interested in pushing, like that angle, something that can separate a design agency apart. So as many of you know, I didn't drink for many years. I actually drink a little bit now. So why do we have so much alcohol, so much premium alcohol, and all this packaging? And I made the choice for about 6 years to stop drinking when my son was born. I just wanted to be more present. I realized I was losing hours to drinking at night. I was losing time being hungover in the morning. It was a cost center. I really wanted to optimize my life and make a change that came with parenthood. And so I did, and I stopped. Now I'm back into it more from an experiential perspective. I'll have something once a month. I like to try new things, especially when there's cultural places like you're over in China. It's hard to even avoid it. And so I don't have strict rules. But we have so much in our house because I really believe drinks and experiences are facilitators. My wife and I love to host. I love to have conversations with people. I love to facilitate conversations between groups of people. And all of this are conversation starters, right? From opening the Rocco fridge we have there and pulling out a beverage no one's ever seen before, or giving them a choice, or having a conversation about it, or introducing them to something new is something I enjoy. Same thing with alcohol. If you come over, you're able to have a premium experience. Hey, we're going to pop this $600 bottle of mezcal, or we're going to have this ready-to-drink cocktail that's really interesting. Like, we're going to have a bunch of options that people can partake in. They're going to think about, they're going to talk about, they're going to remember. That's the kind of experiences that I want to create. And then also, I'm fascinated by how people perceive things and how their background perceives things and what things are like in other places. And so getting people's background or what they enjoy and why, or what appeals to them and why is really interesting to me. And all of these things are facilitators of those experiences. And you'll find if you are like a hosting type, you love to have people over, you like to have those experiences, that facilitating those conversations and having tools with which to do it is a really fun and interesting angle. But then there's getting to stand out in the retail shelf. This is a really interesting one to talk about, and actually one where I have more experience. In my actual background, I've done a lot more. I've done a lot of small e-com brands and medium e-com brands, or e-com for larger brands that are at retail, but my background is very traditionally in retail. Consumer electronics, like in specifically, and then some work in CPG. And so I think a lot about the shelf and what happens, the difference between boutique retail and mainstream retail. What happens when we sell at a sporting goods retailer versus when we have that same product at Walmart is different. And the last brand I was at, for those of you who don't know, when I worked at Gel Blaster for a while as the SVP of marketing, we were in heavy retail. I'd been at a camera drone company in heavy retail. That prior, we were in Best Buy, we were in Fnac in France, we were in Virgin in Dubai, we were across the world in all these places. And then before that, in outdoors brands, where we were in Bass Pro and Cabela's and all, and like that, and then small, specific outdoor shops. But with Gel Blaster in particular, we are selling toys. You're selling them at Walmart, and you're selling them at Costco. And there's a huge perception in the categories of what that looks like. And what happens on shelf is almost everything. How do you get your message across? And so what you'll see there that gets important, especially in toys, things like color blocking. So I'm going to bring this up here. This is a package I worked on when I was there for the product called the Barracuda. It's a gel blaster. And you will notice that this is a very green and black. And that was our identity for this brand. Green and black for the vast majority of products, with some tertiary colors and things that came in there, or swap some things up occasionally. But that's because we were positioning against two products, Nerf and Zuru, who were both red and orange. And when you look at, you'll see basically waves of shelves taken over by how people do their color. And so if you buy one thing inside that color scheme and you like it, you're going to go buy and buy the same thing. There's some consumer perception around that. And you look at how do we get everything we need to get across, like on the front of this box of this package when you're choosing a toy or something complex. And then the cost element, like, okay, actually showing this and having an open box like this is actually cheaper than having a full blister cover box, and all the factors that go into that. And then the same thing with what I call the consideration. This is how every retail shopper shops. Look at the front of the package. They have a package they like. If they're considering it more, they flip it around and they take a look at the back. And it's a cursory look. And you have the opportunity to grab them with a couple items of whatever gets said on the back. We here have call-outs and diagrams and the ecosystem and all this other stuff. This is the same exact experience that happens on the shelf for most consumers. They're going to pick up this energy drink. They say, look, I like this look. I'm going to pick up on the back and I'm going to go, okay, it has 50 calories. 2 grams of carbs, no sugar. Okay, great. Let me read the ingredients. But they're looking at the ingredients panel. Maybe they'll look at this like, okay, there's 10 grams of plant protein. That's actually crazy. They got 10 grams of protein in this thing. 0 sugar, whatever. Like maybe you'll get some of the actual panels, but that is how the vast majority of people shop. So you have these opportunities to get someone. Step 1, get it off the shelf. That's hard. Step 2, just reinforce it enough. Don't mess up enough that they don't put it in the back, right? Because the thing that they grab first is most often the thing that's going to get purchased. And that is a big part of the retail experience, and different things appeal to different people. But color blocking, like I mentioned here, is really important. So one thing you'll notice, the way this brand, United Sodas of America, stood out, is you go to coffee shops and all these different places around the U.S., they have this. I first noticed it at this spot, Hola Adios, that is here in Costa Mesa. You'll see a bunch of these colors next to each other inside a freezer that has nothing else with big color blocking in this same visual style, and it pops. And you go, oh, is this a soda? But you look at it next to any traditional soda, it looks absolutely nothing like it. And this is a positioning choice. And they have this organized by flavor with a whole variety of colors. So you have a single color positioning, and you have a color blocking positioning. And that's important to think about. And they're all aesthetic one by one. I think they did an excellent job with a very simple, minimal look at this brand as someone who's not often a form of minimalism. But one of the most interesting categories to me inside positioning is hot sauce. Because when Truff came out with hot sauce, they changed how people perceive it. They said, hey, we're going to charge 3 times the price of what everyone else charges for hot sauce. When you go on the shelf, it's going to look premium. You're going to see these labels. They have the white one right next to it. Now they have small sizes next to that. They have this cap. And it's funny, when you see traditional hot sauce caps look kind of like this in wood, like Cholula and stuff like that. But now we're going to take it and we're going to make it premium, right? So they basically took a premium approach to a shelf that had nothing premium on it, charged that price for it. When you look at it, you see all these chaotic labels, you see all this wood, and then you see black in this sculptural top, and you see a whole block of solid color that is positioning against everything else that is on the shelf, and then pricing higher than that. Now that's existed on the shelf for a while, which has introduced people to the concept of a premium hot sauce. So then in comes one of my favorite packages recently, nepotism project, Cloud 23. I don't want to be a hater, but it is one of the Beckham children. It is, in fact, I won't be a hater because I'll keep the comment in, but It's an excellent hot sauce. This is a great one. The sweet jalapeno I actually use all the time. They did a fantastic job with this. This bottle is gorgeous and expensive. This top is pretty much like the other tops, like a Cholula or anything. It's familiar, it implies that it's a hot sauce, but it's elevated, and the label is like nothing else in the category. It's standing out through virtue of its illustration, look, and feel, and then the product is excellent. So they have that trifecta: celebrity endorsement, incredibly high quality packaging, someone else that paved the way for a premium category. I don't think this could exist on the shelf without truff on the shelf to trailblaze that. And so now they're giving an alternative for people that have tried this category and go, well, I don't want the truffle taste every time. I want to try some other things. And this is a really good sauce. Where both of these fall flat is in the consumer experience, in my opinion. Hot sauces are great. These caps like leak, and the dispenser of it is like just not. You can see there's like stains on it across the board. So I've used these. So some work there, but excellent job in the positioning on shelf. That's some of the psychology you think about of why people make these things this way, and what you should think about if you're putting together your brand. And then the cost of this is interesting. This is a relatively standard bottle. You're getting a relatively standard cost bottle here, and a sculptural cap and label. This cap was expensive to get a one-time mold. You'll see they run the same mold in two different colors, in white and black. So they had a one-time fee for that. But other than that, this is not like, maybe they got a custom glass mold for this bottle, but it's pretty straightforward. And so a little expensive, it's a little more premium than your average one, but nothing absolutely crazy. This is very expensive. Default cap, maybe threaded differently for the top, but like this bottle was not cheap, had an expensive mold, and is not cheap per. Those are the kind of things to think about as a brand. But if you don't, say you're a marketer and you're putting together your packaging, how do you think about that if you don't have that price point? That's where I love to call out brands that can stand out in other ways. So like Visitor is a great one. This is like a low alc beer, or like a malted water near beer. Literally just a sticker on the raw can, or a print on the raw can. It looks like a sticker. We'll print on the back for the label. This is an excellent way, just picking it down to its element. It's gorgeous. This is not an expensive can. Didn't even have to have a wrap. Obviously, there's some cost differences between wrap and print on direct. Maybe it's slightly, you get the point. Someone like Gia, they're taking a premium positioning. They have multiple stickers, that sticker placement on here. But again, default can, just with a choice of what they print on with labels. These are really nice matte label with an actual finish on the actual lettering. So that's actually probably pretty pricey. These are all different ways you can approach how much you want to spend on your packaging versus a custom form factor that's going to be expensive. Speaking of custom form factors, this is the Freaks of Nature bottle. This is sunscreen. Love this color reveal. One of my favorite tactics when you have products. We'll look at that with blanked here in a second. I have a dispenser in here. This look and color pattern. What I like about this is it's a cool form factor for sunscreen. We're always used to these tubes, but if you are actually anybody that like is surfing or rolling out anywhere, this is actually an easier form factor to like pocket or put in a simple bag or anything like that. Then a longer tube. This looks cool on shelf, and again, will look nothing like other sunscreens that are on it. And to that point, I'm gonna do a quick call out for Vacation. One of the best brands, in my opinion, of the last decade. They present everything vintage. And it's funny, when you go, I did this beauty report with Van Group. We did all these trends in beauty, and I went to different stores, Ulta, Sephora, all these places, with people I know that work in beauty or take beauty really seriously, to shop with them. Just as part of the research for the trend report, we did all these visits, and Vacation is in Ulta with the whole display, and just looks like absolutely nothing else in the store. It has this vintage nostalgic appeal across all these different packages. This is just one here, tied into a brand that leans all the way into that, where they literally said, we're gonna be a period piece, and we're gonna have fun with it, and all our packaging is gonna look like that, and we are nothing like anything else in the category, and they have dominated. And that's a strategy to think about when you look at cool packaging. Which leads us to the extreme angle. So I'm gonna talk about Kurova briefly. Kurova is a brand that I worked for. I was the president of the company that owned it for a minute. And we had all of this packaging in our niche. It's a niche I don't want to get banned for saying, but you can probably guess, where we chose to go this all black metal acid trip route on everything. This was a hot sauce package we did, heavy iconography. The idea being that there's always people on the shelf that will look at that extreme angle or that dark angle or that counterculture angle. That is always a position brands can take. Now let's move over to a few of my friends over here. The David Protein Bar. You guys may have seen these. They're very popular online right now. Does it look familiar? Well, Andrea from the Snack Shop pointed out that it really resembles the old school Power Bar. It means it's innately familiar to a wide variety of older users, which I think is critical. When you think about things that are universally appealing, like we have with the Madre Mezcal over here, and some of these things that like can appeal to older people who find it somehow familiar, while to younger people that feel it's cool. And this was a great choice of branding, I feel like, for them. Simplistic, familiar, and when you see the package and how prolific it is on TikTok, like you know immediately what it is. And that's important. And so they took a TikTok shop strategy. And I've heard some conversation around this because they're so ubiquitous on TikTok shop. They are everywhere. They have creators just hammering it because it works. And I've done hundreds of thousands of dollars in their first month on TikTok Shop. And when you see things that are that ubiquitous, there's just a muscle memory of like gold package, gold package, gold package, gold package, that when something that comes with this brand recognition, when you combine those two things of this standout package and this repetition of people seeing it, even just it being so basic as it being gold, is a thing that works in consumer minds. Quick shout out to some coffee packaging I like. Project Coffee. I really like the little guy is the sticker. Big fan of stickers with little people on them. A little personality, things like that. I don't have a Glow Nuts package here, but Glow Nuts has like the founders' faces on the back. And they'll have little like, their aisle interrupters and stuff at retail. Those little like pop-ups you have in there will have the founders on them. Be like, we need to sell more Glow Nuts to pay for our wedding. It's like a married couple or something. It's really fun and interesting. Same with those little characters, putting little pops of personality like that is fun. Another great package I love for coffee. I actually dented this dropping it walking in here. But they have this like matte inlay for onyx and this like display on it that I quite like. That again is standout. Let's get into body for a moment. We'll end with blanked. So first, this is Muscle Goo. This is a product I have with Landforce. This is one of mine. You can buy it at musclegoo.co. It is a competitor to things like Biofreeze and Bengay that have like really terrible ingredients. So we made a whole bunch of ingredients that are actually good for you. It is 87% organic, 19 essential oils, and there's an opening like that in almost any category to say, hey, are these things bad for you? Let's make a healthier alternative, which is what we did with this. And then you'll notice why we have this packaging the way it does. Like we made it big, we use this raw silver look that we like. As you can tell, I have it in a lot of packaging focuses here that we took some inspiration from. It's big logo on here. We'll probably move that cap to silver over time, but went with a default cap to start. We went with this big size because there's some consumer feedback that like, we want to charge a higher price point for this because it's expensive, it's organic. We're competing against cheaper products. I'm like, okay, what is one way that we can stand out from that? And one is you kind of feel like you're always skimping when you go put some stuff on, like a muscle cream or whatever, because you're going to run out, you're using through a bunch of it, you're squeezing them out the tube, but you want to put a ton on. So we're like, great, you know what? Let's give people what they want. Let's give them the biggest tube, the biggest option that you can get, like as a standard option, which justifies being able to charge a slightly higher price point, makes people feel like they can use it liberally, which is the whole idea and how it works better. And then if it ever goes up on a retail shelf next to the competitors that we have, it both looks visually striking at that scale, and you'll go, all right, well, cool. Like, hey, it might be a little more expensive, but I get a ton of it. And so those are kind of things to think about when you have some considerations. Now, cosmetics is one of the most interesting ones. This is Kjaer Weiss. I'm probably going to butcher that pronunciation. You'll see they have these metal reusable compacts. They're super premium, that are geometric. There's this like design approach to doing anything in this industry. But being something that, the reason these objects are so important is because if you choose one, a compact, and you keep it, yes, you may get refills from another brand, but you're probably going to get refills from the brand you have the compact for. You know the sizing's right. You're reminded of it every day, from every time you use it. This cloud compact that they have, excellent. See how it flips open here. It's cool, amorphous shape, completely unique. See two different approaches to the same product with the same overall look, how different they could be. And both being super social media friendly. That's what we're about to get to when I get to some of this recap here. Byredo, they're taking a normal item, like a lipstick holder, and they're taking like a sculptural approach to it. And I really love that idea. How do you take a form factor people are familiar with, and then how do you make it art? Samaya Beauty does these crazy ones. Some of the other ones I won't show because they're nuts. But obviously, like this horse top, and they have all these different themes and motifs. That, again, extremely social media friendly. Half Magic, another one, more Gen Z focused, but these like crazy pill bottle looking Y2K era is again just a super social media friendly, unique looking. That is the standard with which you have to come as a new brand to stand out. And you'll see something like Aesop, which is again a good example of this branding traditionally you may not think is good. It's hard to read. There's a lot of information. It's black and white, but it succeeds as a line. You know an Aesop product whenever you see one, whatever it is. And there's something to be said for that too, as far as the differentiation is the pure standout appeal, and then running that through a myriad of products, something they do an excellent job with. So we're going to talk a bit about the social media friendly nature of this. Why does this matter? A whole bunch of this packaging. Why does it matter? What is it worth? If someone gets your product and sends it to a friend or posts it online on their story, whatever, makes a TikTok. Those are things that happen all the time. People DM stuff to their friends all the time. They message stuff. And if your stuff is cool enough to warrant that, you have a absolute exponential effect of that beyond if you just didn't have it. In a world that is driven on recommendations, that is driven on social media, you are giving the opportunity for organic growth. And that's a really important thing to think about. Speaking of tasteful things, I'm going to pull this out from Brandon at Blanked. So he's a good example of a packaging family, right? You see these. Love the color reveals I mentioned on Freaks of Nature. This packaging all looks and feels like a unit. It's not cheap. We'll pull this out here. But, custom foam and these cuts. And again, he is coming at you with a premium experience for his like sculptural objects brand. It was a new brand. At every moment of its experience from moment one is helping drive its perception of can he justify the price points and can he continue to sell you interesting, expensive objects. And the way he presented the product and packaging from day one was probably worth the investment because it comes across feeling more like an Apple than it does something that you bought at like a CB2. No shade to CB2, watch my house from there. All right, but thanks for bearing with me inside this video. I love talking about packaging, I love collecting it. These are conversations I have with brands all the time. As you can see, a bunch of the projects I've worked on. I catalog a bunch of my favorite packaging at this directory I will link down here. It's a hyper directory. It's free. I'm just shouting out a bunch of things I think are interesting, so you can go to the links and you can actually find them and hunt them down. I don't believe I have a sponsor in this video, so if you do want to support in any way, musclegoo.co, try out some of our muscle relief gel. And if you have any packaging you love, please drop it in the comments because I'm adding to that directory all the time. I want to do this video just with stuff I had on hand and not reference a bunch of stuff that's online. If this video does well and y'all like it, I will probably follow up with going through a bunch of things that are in that directory and what makes them stand out and interesting. But thank you so much for watching. Hope this drives you to think a little more about the aesthetic things in your life and what you enjoy or not and why, and inspires you a bit for your own brands. Thank you so much.